Major employers announcing white collar job cuts.
Bruh.
I will say, this particular anchor on Fox Business, she she doesn't really look very happy most of the times that I see her for some reason. She just doesn't really seem to be the most happy person that I've seen. But let's watch this video together.
Adopting AI in the workplace and white collar jobs. Well, these are quickly adopting AI in the workplace and white collar jobs. Well, they are evaporating this week. One of the nation's largest employers, Amazon, made its message to office employees.
Okay, now I know why she's normally not happy, because every time I see a video with her and she's talking about AI, it's like doom and gloom, doom and gloom, doom and gloom. I think she had said on one of the videos. Oh, okay, now I remember. Because she was making a case against AI, and she was like, "Oh, when I called some customer service thing, and they could not get like the AI thing, or it wasn't even, it's probably not even AI, because before AI they had the automated answering thing, right?" And she was like, and they kept getting it wrong, and until I finally got to a human, and so you still need humans around. And the other guy was like, or we can just make the technology better. He had a point there. He had a point there, because look, you are not going to be employing 40,000, 50,000 call center workers. All right. So, but that's what I remember, because like she's always like kind of a little bit on the pessimistic side of things.
It's quite clear
when it comes to AI.
Here, thank you, but no thanks. Amazon, of course, isn't alone. Off week, one of the nation's largest employers, Amazon, made its message to office employees quite clear. Thank you, but no thanks. Amazon, of course, isn't alone. Big companies are realizing they can reduce headcount and cut costs without risking productivity. And this could just be the tip of the iceberg. And this is the disconnect, DJ, that we're seeing in the marketplace right now. You're seeing these big AI companies keep running and running and running. And then you've got your big consumer companies using AI to become more efficient. We're not necessarily saying that they're having problems. They're trying to adjust to make the bottom line more profitable. That's what any corporation does. But it's coming at the expense of employees and headcount. And this is sort of the big bad wolf in the equation coming into reality.
Right, classic creative destruction, right? We get a new technology, increases efficiency, productivity, sounds great. You do have job losses in the near term. Now, in the long run, one of the things I think people are missing with AI is the fact that, yes, it is in many instances a substitute for labor, but it can also be a complement. I've already started using it in a whole host of different applications. So it can make some employees more efficient, more productive. That's going to drive real wage growth. And so you end up actually seeing, as with all these different technologies, you end up seeing a net increase in employment, but that's over the long run. To your point, Jackie, in the short run, can you see these kinds of disruptions in the labor market? Absolutely.
Is this, Brian, part of what is driving that fear that we were talking about earlier? The fear of young people and older people, but people across the board, to want to embrace AI because they start seeing headlines like this and say, whoa, it's probably only going to get worse from here.
Well, there's reality, and the reality is there's going to be displacement. Then there's the layer of ideology people put on reality, which is you've got displacement.
That was the guy who was like, yeah, we're not going to be hiring 50,000 people to answer phone calls anymore, which I have to agree with. Like, and there's been times I don't really make, see, I don't really, like, because now you can do everything through chat online and stuff like that to get things resolved. But there was a time when you would call customer service and you'd be on hold for like 50 minutes. And then once they actually answer, you get attitude, right? And you're like, can I think of somebody else? Say.
This is the ill of capitalism, therefore we must abandon capitalism. That's the part that I get concerned about, because I think people are buying that narrative. I think one of the problems is, a lot of this is hitting college graduates. It's not the tech, it's not the trades worker or the Votech school or whatever. This is hitting the college grad. And I think colleges, among the many lies they have sold for a long time, one of them was come to college, run through the system, get your stamp, and you are entitled to a job. And
he is 1000% right. The idea growing up was go to college to get a job. Go to college to get a job. Go to college to get a job. And it didn't even really matter what you majored in. And now, that's the part where college itself is not I'm going to take it back. College is somewhat of a scam. Because they also make these programs available to students knowing that they have no chance in hell of using it for anything. No chance in hell for using it for anything. So that, to me, that's part of the scam. But going to college for STEM, for instance, right? Very helpful. Nursing, doctors, engineering, getting that education, super. But there's some stuff that people go to college for hobbies. And they go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt for a hobby. I get annoyed having, like, when I do a jiu-jitsu competition, right? I get annoyed if I don't sign up on, like, by the lower cost day, which is like, so it costs about $130 to sign up, right? If I miss the deadline for the early entry and it's like I have to pay $160, I'm like, I'm not doing it. But people, and that's a hobby. That is a hobby. But people will pay $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 for a hobby. I'm a triple masters and who knows what. Okay, what can you use it for? Nothing. So then it doesn't even matter. So I agree with him on that.
that has been a destructive model because these kids, like, I studied finance, therefore I should get a finance job. Like, no, you had an opportunity to study finance, but if your school was not supportive of where finance is going, it's not going to help you get a job. I think we need to break the...
I didn't even watch. I did. This is my first time watching this video, and he's saying the same exact thing that I said.
Conveyor belt link that we've created between school and jobs. AI is going to do that for us, whether we like it or not. And the sooner we help young people understand that, the better choices they'll make about how they prepare for a career. And it might not just be get the piece of paper, put it on the wall, and then complain about the fact that I can't get a job.
And when I think of
that's the same exact thought and sentiment that I had. That is like, people go to college for a piece of paper, a $200,000, $300,000 piece of paper. And then they're like, but Kanye West, a college dropout. My degrees keep me warm. My degrees keep me warm.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Everything is a competition. Everything, I'm saying it again, everything is a competition. So that means you have to do what other people aren't willing to do. So you might have to study more. You might have to take on more projects. You might have to do more internships. You have to network more. You have to get in the door. And then once you get in the door, then that is when you supercharge. You supercharge it and you go running and you want to be the best. Starting off with what I was saying earlier today. With the icebreaker from today. Stand your ground. Stand strong. Do it alone. Because everyone should have their own best interest in mind. So people are going to do it for themselves, so you got to do it for yourself, all right?
About AI and the conversations we've had about trade school, for example, Lydia, you could almost say skip college altogether, take classes in how to harness the power of AI like it is a trade, and that would be all you need to be off and running.
And it seems like that's becoming a more and more attractive proposition for a lot of folks every day. I think it was encouraging a few weeks ago. You might remember we saw the White House, the First Lady there, Melania Trump, of course, convening a big task force work group talking about AI and how it's changing the labor market. And when she was speaking, along with the labor secretary there, they were speaking not just to people that are coming up the next generation, young folks that are in school now and what kind of education they're going to need. But they also spoke to people that are, going to have to transition this change in the workforce and getting re-educated. So I think this is going to be a challenge to some of us, all of us, on being nimble and staying on top of our own game and being willing to kind of take up some new skills. The Wall Street Journal has this piece about, how folks have been on the sideline now for some of them months, after layoffs that have been really hard. My heart really goes out to them. The flip side of that, though, is the long-term benefit and the trade-off. I will say AI is not perfect yet. I'm a former lawyer like yourself. I'm in a lot of discussion groups about how AI is changing the legal community. Those jobs are really taking a hit. But I'm also seeing just as many posts and warnings out there about how what AI is doing to the law right now with the brief writing and stuff. It is far from perfect. It's, the what do they call it? The AI hallucinations where they come up with, fake case law and fake paragraphs. It's showing up in real court briefs because people are just feeling the pressure to operate too fast.
Real quick, Brianna.
And that is dumb. Like if if you're putting AI hallucinations in court briefs, like I think hallucinations in AI are helpful if you do your due diligence and you follow up on it. But you cannot just let AI do all the work for you, because if that's the case, then you should be replaced. But you have to use it as a tool. If it references something, that's why I was saying I read through everything that it's saying, or 90% of the things I'm reading through. I'm like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that. I need to participate. AI is my accomplice, not my slave, not my Toby. All right? AI is not Toby, okay? It is your accomplice. It is your partner in crime. All right? Let's finish this video off.
On this aspect, you would think that it would be lower end warehouse jobs. We're talking about white collar jobs. And when people start to talk about white collar and more high paying jobs, that becomes scary. Now, the Republicans and President Trump are big proponents of AI. Does this politically come back to bite them?
No, not if they use this as an opportunity to reorient, in particular, college students, right? I mean, we're talking about rare earth minerals. Look, we have no refineries, no processing capabilities here. This is a great opportunity to go to college students and say, here's an avenue which AI might not be able to dominate for a while. This is a place where you're not going to lose your job, right? So we have to push students towards paths where there is something that is tangible and not something that is really just, intellectual, because that's where AI is going to go first.
You mean stop subsidizing like gender studies degrees?
You got it, Brian.
Maybe if you want to get a job, don't stop subsidizing
art, Asian art history, things like that. I took that class in college. It's a major.
Out the things that we thought were so obvious,
yes,
but still take time to resonate with the masses.
There you have it. That was a fascinating discussion. I think, and here's part of the problem with people is that they will get into a job, a company, and they will just do what is required. And I come from the belief and the camp of what's his name again? Robert C. Martin, the clean coder, right? Where?
What's this?
Shout out
Oh,
to my guy,
it's only money.
Magnetar. Shout out to my guy, Magnetar. Shout out to you. Always. I'm going to read that super chat in just 1 second. But I am of the belief and mindset that you have to practice. Like, you have to continue to build your skill set, and you can't stay stagnant because technology changes, society changes, the world continues to spin. So just because you get a job, you can't just sit there and like, oh, okay, well, I got this job now, because guess what? At some point in time, the exact job that you're doing will not be needed anymore. So when you have these people like where oh, I used to work for this company for 20, 30 years and now there's layoffs because they don't need us anymore. Sorry? What were you doing for 20 to 30 years? You have to continue to learn, grow. Can a mechanic, Junior, as a mechanic, can you rely on the same car, the same books that you worked on 20 years ago to help you fix a car or to guide you to fixing a car that just was made last year? You need the manual. You need to grow. You need to know how the new parts work. It doesn't. We all need to continue to learn, study, grow. It's not, you don't do that on the job. There's no such thing as quote unquote on the job training. No, you have to develop your skills. I say a minimum of 10 hours a week outside of work, where you are working on your development in whatever industry that you're in, studying, practicing, projects, building something. I would say though, I really want to say 20 hours minimum, but I'm being graceful. I am being gracious, but it's really 20 hours. Anyways, that's it.
For hands to pull me up, I fill my own glass, I drink my own cup. Failures fuel the fire that sets me free. Every spark, every flame burns brighter in me.
I called the shots, but they ran away. Promises made, but none would stay. So I turned the mirror, and what did I see? The only one I trust is me.
I stood alone when the world turned gray. Hope shattered like glass, dreams led astray. But I picked up the pieces, carved my own way. Now it's my voice, my game, my play. I'm betting on me, I'm taking the lead. No one else can match my speed. I replace them all, now I'm the key. The world's in my hands, I'm betting on me. I'm betting on me, I'm taking the lead. No one else can match my speed. I replace them all, now I'm the key. The world's in my hands, I'm betting on me.
Tired of waiting for a no-show crew, so I built the dream with my own view. Brick by brick, I carved my lane. Through the storm, through the pain.
I'm betting on me, I'm taking the lead. No one else can match my speed. I replace them all, now I'm the key. The world's in my hands, I'm betting on me.
I'm betting on me, I'm taking the lead. No one else can match my speed. I replace them all, now I'm the key. The world's in my hands, I'm betting on me. They vanish like shadows when the sun appeared. Left me to battle my own darkest fears. But I turned the silence into my cheer. Every loss was a step to get me here.
I'm betting on me, I'm taking the lead. No one else can match my speed. I replace them all, now I'm the key. The world's in my hands, I'm betting on me.
I'm betting on